Hello and welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast. As always, we're powered by our friends at Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. If you have any tree trimming, tree removal, or stump removal needs, our friends at Harper's Tree and Stump Removal have you covered. In addition to tree work, they can also haul rock and sand. They can do driveway work and can now do horizontal grindings of large wood debris piles. Give Keith a call at 229-314-2048 or at 229-938-2412. Harper's Tree and Stump Removal is proud to be the premier sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, and sports administrators. Now, here's your host, Tim Estes.
Hello, and thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Let me encourage you to like and share this video with your friends. Our program continues to grow each week, and we're grateful for that. One of the best ways you can help us out is to go to our YouTube page, type in Integrity Sports Podcast, and once you get to our page, simply hit the subscribe button. We're trying to reach the 1,000 subscriber mark, and your help would be greatly appreciated. Our guest today is Michael Leeder. Michael is a native of Ellaville, Georgia. He's currently the Director of Player Development for Ole Miss Baseball. Michael, man, it's good to have you with us.
Tim, it's good to see you. Happy to be here and happy to be back and talking to folks from my past and such a good memories.
Hey, Michael, let's get started right there. Most everybody in this area knows who your dad is, Mike Leeder, the Director of Athletics at Georgia Southwestern State University. If they're from the Ellaville area and they had kids, they probably know your mom because she was such a great school counselor there at the elementary school for so long. But you had a great career growing up here in South Georgia. Played at Sly County, and man, I remember some really big moments during your career. I want to start today out by I want you to talk about what it was like to grow up in the home of a coach, and then also talk to us just a little bit about the Ellaville area and what it was like to be a part of some great teams like you were at Sly County.
Absolutely, and definitely just to start, just how blessed we were as a family, how blessed I was to grow up in such a great area like the Ellaville and Americus community. Growing up in the house of a coach, learning a lot about college athletics early. I think a lot of my earliest memories were either on the bench or behind the bench as I grew up around my dad's basketball program, and not only being there for the games or the practices, but the work around athletics and being there for things like lining football fields, setting up for other events in the gym, just getting a different education on what the day-to-day in college athletics is really like. And then growing up and not really going down the same path as basketball, I think I found out that I wasn't quite as gifted basketball from both height and athleticism standpoint in being able to really contribute on the basketball court, but finding my groove with baseball and making my own path a little bit away from basketball, but carrying over a lot of the lessons that I learned watching my dad coach his teams and guide his teams to successful years, bringing it over to Sly County baseball and trying to contribute best I could, and playing under Coach G, Coach Rooks, Coach Sellers, and Coach Durand for a while. Just that background of being around athletics every day really helped for me to understand what was happening as I was playing throughout my high school and then college years, but also how to handle adversity, how to handle maybe not contributing in the way that I wanted to every day, or being the one that is the contributor and being around winning teams and winning programs. So again, definitely blessed with the ability to be around college athletics as much as I was, and to be in such a supportive community like Ellaville and Americus and the Sly County school system.
And Michael, when you left here, you went over to Emory University, got the opportunity to play baseball there at Emory. And of course, most everybody knows about the quality of education you can get at Emory. Talk to me a little bit about that journey. What was it like to play at Emory? Talk to me about the academics at Emory.
Sure. Emory, it's a tremendous place, tremendous university. Coach Mike Twardowski, he's been there for a very long time. And I was lucky to get recruited by him and his longtime assistant, Bobby Perez. I guess it was it was my junior year in the summer going into my senior year. We kind of found each other and connected. They watched me play a few times, and Emory was always on a target list with school and baseball. I knew I wanted to do both. I figured academics would be a part of what I did moving forward. And Emory presented me with a really unique opportunity to chase both. So going into Emory, I really didn't know what I wanted to pursue academically. I knew I wanted to play baseball and worked really hard on the baseball field. But throughout kind of my first year, economics really bounced out at me as a chance to not only study things that interest me, such as economics and crime, but also an interesting path in sports opened up. And I was able to do a lot of my coursework researching sports and specifically baseball. As a baseball player, the numbers behind what was happening on the field really interest me. And I got the opportunity to research things like pitcher injuries and how it impacted their expected salaries going forward. And those opportunities were really unique, I think, at Emory, specifically just being around the professors that had been in the field for a long time and experts in the economics field. And they helped me guide my passion to my academic work and link it to my athletics workload on the baseball field as well. So I really appreciated that. As a player, college baseball is difficult. It's one of those. I had, some of the highest highs. I pitched in games against ranked opponents where we had big wins, and then I struggled at times too. And I think that's something that all athletes can embrace, because it's not going to be the smoothest road throughout your entire career. And then toward the end of my career, kind of a unique thing that would happen at a place like Emory University. Our pitching coach at the time left going into my senior year. He took a job with the Los Angeles Dodgers, where he's still with the Dodgers in their affiliate system. And we kind of had a gap. So I helped as one of the older players. I filled in a little bit, helped with scouting reports, helped coaching first base. And then unfortunately our season got cut short my senior year. We were off to a great start, but we got cut short due to the coronavirus pandemic. And that kind of led to my segue into coaching. I realized that I still wanted to be a part of baseball, still wanted the field to be a part of my everyday routine. So as strange as something like the coronavirus pandemic maybe sparking a coaching career, it very well may have, because I don't really know what I would have done if baseball hadn't been taken from me in the spring of 2020.
We are talking to Michael Leeder, the Director of Player Development at Ole Miss. And Michael, just tell folks right now, I know you're in a hotel room. Tell us where you're at and kind of why you're there.
So we're in Fayetteville, Arkansas. We've got our weekend series against Arkansas tonight, Thursday night through Saturday afternoon. So we're on the road this week. We played down in Memphis on Tuesday. So hoping to finish the week out strong, hopefully with a big series win, or hopefully even series sweep on the road, and springboard into the rest of the SEC schedule.
The Integrity Sports Podcast is brought to you each week by several sponsors, and we're grateful for them. One of those is the Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance Agency. They're located at 925 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Americus. You can reach them at 928-3686 or reach out to them on Facebook. Drop by and see Marty, Mary Lynn, or any of their fine staff, and let them discuss your insurance needs with you. They can even do the famous discount double check to make sure you're receiving all of the savings that are available to you. Thanks to Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance for sponsoring this segment of the Integrity Sports Podcast. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Michael, when you graduated from Emory, it's my understanding you went on to law school. Tell us about that journey and kind of what you did with baseball while you were in law school.
Absolutely. So kind of building off of the end of my career with the coronavirus, the law school application process starts earlier than your senior year in college. And towards the end of my junior year, I felt it was time where I was ready to transition maybe out of the game day to day, and obviously still be a fan of baseball and a fan of college athletics, but maybe that it was time to move on and see what else was out there. So going into 2020, I had already completed most of the application process and applied to school, taking the LSAT, which is the law school entrance exam, applying to schools. And then really the spring of the year before that you're entering school is when you start to tour college campuses. So Coach Twardowski at Emory was incredibly supportive of my efforts, worked around my schedule a lot. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, the only campus I was able to visit before the pandemic hit was Ole Miss, and coming out to Oxford was incredible. It's a beautiful town. The athletic programs are top notch, extremely nationally competitive in each of them. And being around Oxford, it felt like home. It was a place where sports law was emphasized, and it was something that I was looking for in a law school. Great sports law professors and courses. So it was a good fit. And then before I was able to really explore any other options, everything shut down. And luckily, Ole Miss has been wonderful. So I came out here after coronavirus, I guess things started opening up, and it was a challenge. The first semester in law school was part remote, part in person. And during that time, I realized that, I really wanted to work with the baseball team. So I reached out to the former head coach at Georgia Southwestern and now current head coach at Rider, Barry Davis. Dr. Barry Davis, when he did his PhD study, he used Ole Miss baseball and Coach Mike Bianco as one of his case studies in his dissertation. So he reached out to Coach Bianco, told Coach Bianco my story, and luckily Coach B wanted to sit down and talk and set aside time for me to come in. And I introduced myself to Coach Bianco, and it started really slow. They were still trying to figure out how to navigate things opening back up, the program opening back up, because they went through the same shutdowns that we did at Emory. And it started with just a Rapsodo a couple times a week, sitting in the bullpen and recording data, or helping put together part of a scouting report in the spring, and then tagging TrackMan. So TrackMan is a software we use to capture all our baseball analytics, and somebody has to basically tell the machine what happens on each pitch and each play. So that's really where I got my start, is tagging each pitch for the Ole Miss baseball team. And over time, as I advanced in law school and got to control my schedule a little bit more, I was around the baseball team more and more at Ole Miss. And it eventually got to the point where I was around them pretty much every day. When I wasn't in class, I was around Ole Miss baseball and helping out anywhere I could. And Coach Bianco and Coach Carl Lafferty and Coach Mike Clement and Chris Cleary and Chris Godoris and Sam Slavic here on the Ole Miss baseball staff were incredibly supportive of what I was trying to pull off, doing both, and would feed me both in education and the differences between baseball at where I came from at Emory and back at the high school level, and bridging the gap to what it looks like in the Power Five in the Southeastern Conference, where some of the best amateur baseball players in the world, if not the best, come from. And they were great. They helped me along, and I was able to do both. And eventually, down the road, with some of the new NCAA legislation that came along, we were able to have more coaches on the road, which opened up an opportunity for somebody to come in and help as the director of player development, which was a new spot on our staff. And fortunately enough, Coach Bianco asked me to stay on, and it's been great ever since.
So, Michael, now you've got your Juris Doctor, and to common folks like me, you think, okay, you graduate from law school, you take the bar, and you go into law practice. Tell us what your hopes are as you look at your future down the road.
To be honest, it's difficult. I don't know if you would have asked me when I stepped foot on Emory my first fall and said that, you're going to be the director of player development in 7 years. I don't know if I would have believed you. So it's tough for me to project out really what's going to happen next. I'm grateful that I hold a license in the state of Georgia, and I don't have to, or I'm an inactive member of the Georgia bar. So that's an option moving forward. I think college athletics is going in a really exciting direction. Things that have changed around name, image, and likeness. And I think things are only going to become more clear and more robust with name, image, and likeness going forward. I don't think we're going to step backwards in the way that college athletics is changing. But I don't know. I still have a very big passion for being on the field and being around these student athletes. They're incredibly talented. They work extremely hard, and the schedule that these guys go through each day, it's inspiring to work with these guys because they take so much pride in what they do. And I feel like being able to make an impact on their lives is something that's unique to coaching. So I think right now, definitely want to continue coaching with the goal of being a head coach in the near future or one day, and see kind of where college athletics goes in the next 5 to 10 years.
So you know a little bit now about Michael Leeder and what he's up to years after leaving Sly County. In just a moment, we're going to talk to him about going backwards and what it was like to play there. Our program today is also brought to you by our friend Will Peterson at One Digital Solutions. They are a steward of business growth and personal development. Their insurance, financial, and HR platforms provide you with a personalized, tech-enabled solution for a contemporary work-life experience. One Digital resolves real problems, not only for your business, but for your employees. They do that by fusing together customized solutions that address benefits, HR, and financial services. It's really everything all in one. It's One Digital. Contact Will Peterson today at 229-347-6289. One Digital is proud to sponsor this segment of the Integrity Sports Podcast. All right, Michael, here's the fun part, and I'm looking forward to hearing this. Man, I called some really good games that you were a part of, got to be a part of the first state championship at Sly County. When you think back to those incredible playoff runs and your teammates that you had at Sly County, give me some of those moments that you remember.
Wow. To start off, it's hard to believe how quick the time has gone, that we're closer to the 10-year mark. Shoot, that's next year. It's hard to believe that it's been 10 years next year. But the thing that jumps out about me, or to me, about those teams was just the camaraderie and the teamsmanship and the chemistry amongst those guys. I feel like we were all close. It is a small community, a tight-knit community, but really kind of transforming guys that you consider friends truly as brothers. I mean, a lot of us still talk to this day, if not every day, multiple times a week, mostly through text message, but just sharing each other's lives since that time, since we all played together. But I guess more specifically, things that jumped out when we played together was just enjoying being on the field. And those playoff series were really fun. That was when the competition was ramped up, and we had very, very talented players at Sly County, many of which that went on to have great college careers. And being around those guys as we beat during that playoff run, Hawkinsville at home to advance to the first Final Four we had been into for a long, long time. And that was a really big moment that I feel like doesn't get talked about as much, because that was a tough series. That was a team that played us tough throughout that year. And it felt like a big hurdle getting through Hawkinsville, because they also had an excellent program, and beating that club to get to the Final Four. That was when we felt, okay, we can do this. And as difficult as it was to go on the road to Trutland and take a difficult 3-game series over there, I feel like the spark for us that really turned the corner was getting there, because then we had the confidence to go out and get it done.
I tell you what I remember about that series, Michael. You had the game-winning hit in Game 3, and we were on the radio, and we were also streamed, and we were one of the first radio stations in this area to stream it. So your grandmother got to hear that. The following week, your dad reached out to me and said, hey, here's his grandmother's phone number. She wants to talk to you. So I called her, and she got very emotional about how thankful she was to be able to at least hear that. And then the very next week in the state finals, you had a game-winning hit. And I don't even remember now what her first name was, but my call was, he's done it again. And so that was kind of a personal thing to her. So, man, that was a lot of fun to be a part of that with you guys back then. Do you still stay in touch with any of those guys that were your teammates?
All the time, especially from that group, the 2015, 2016 teams. Most of it was the same team. Obviously, we had Knox Diaz on 2015, and he graduated before 2016. But aside from that, it was a very consistent roster. So a lot of those guys we still talk to multiple times a week. If not, you hear from them. It's not as constant every day, but at least sporadically throughout the week. And it's great to hear from those guys as everybody's kind of transitioned out of, I guess, being younger and into careers and with families and getting married. It's really cool to see, and especially having shared such special moments in high school and kind of growing up with those guys, seeing what everybody's doing. It's really neat.
The Fish House, located at 224 North Jackson Street, is a new sponsor on the Integrity Sports Podcast. Their owner, Mark Tyler, has always been a supporter of student athletes and all athletic programs here in Southwest Georgia. Hey, go by and see them at the Fish House. They have some of the freshest seafood in all of Southwest Georgia. Whether it's fish, shrimp, oysters, or catfish, they have that in their seafood center. Right next door is the Fish House Restaurant, and they are a staple of seafood in our area. Go by and see them or give them a call at 924-5177 and let the Fish House provide you with a delicious meal tonight. The Fish House is proud to be a sponsor on the Integrity Sports Podcast. Mike, we're getting ready to wrap this thing up, and every week the last question that I ask my guest has become kind of a big hit around here. People really like to hear this. You've had a great career in high school, in college, and now you're off to a great start as a professional. You've had a lot of folks behind the scenes that I'm sure have been an encouragement to you, that constantly lift you up. Tell us who those folks are for Michael Leeder.
Absolutely. So to start off with my family, they've been incredibly supportive from the time that I was playing t-ball and rec basketball and growing up and eventually transitioning into travel ball and tournament play and the long weekends where you drive up to Atlanta and you pitch only 1 or 2 games and you drive back. It's hard. And I'm very appreciative that they enabled me to chase that passion and then enabled me to keep it going into college athletics. And I think that somebody that gets overlooked when I talk about this is my little sister, Alyssa. Those weekends were long for her too. And unfortunately she was younger than me. So she didn't really have a driver's license or for a lot of that time. So she was tagging along when it was time to go to Atlanta or go to LaGrange or Dothan or coming up for, well, she was old enough to drive when she went to college, but she stayed supportive of me when I was in college and would always come up and visit. And then eventually she would come up and visit without my parents and just come hang out for the weekend. So grateful for my family, but a special shout out to my little sister because she was such a big part of it and always so encouraging. And to watch her grow up and be the special person she is really awesome. And then all my coaches along the way, whether it was Coach Chuck Cheek or Coach William Brooks, Jody Sellers, John Duran, all those guys were so encouraging as I was really starting to learn the game at a competitive level in high school and enabling me to compete on the stage at Sly County and then encouraging me to go off and do travel ball in the summers and the fall in Atlanta and face off against some of the better competition in the Southeast region. It was great. And then having Coach Mike Twardowski and Bobby Perez up at Emory give me the opportunity to play college athletics and encouraging when I first started to show signs of maybe being interested in coaching, encouraging me to go out and coach first base for this half inning or this game, or encouraging me to make the scouting report when we played Millsaps on a weekend or whoever we were playing that weekend. It was really special of them to be able to foster the flame a little bit and see if coaching was the right move. And then obviously the staff at Ole Miss, Coach Mike Bianco, Carl Lafferty, Mike Clement, Chris Cleary, Chris Godoris, and Sam Slavic. Without them, I definitely wouldn't have been able to stay in this game. And I certainly wouldn't have been able to get a law degree and stay in the game. And they're giving me the opportunity to take my first steps in college baseball as a coach. And I'll be eternally grateful for them and everything that they teach me about the Ole Miss system, about playing at the Southeastern Conference level and competing against some of these level players that it's incredible to watch them compete at this level. And just the education they've given me on how to be a college coach. And it's great. So without that support system, I don't know where I'd be. And again, just eternally grateful to all these folks, because without them, I really am not sure what I'd be doing right now.
Mike, I'm glad you mentioned your sister. I meant to do that earlier in the show, but Alyssa has definitely been a part of everything your family's done here. She's always been there. And boy, it's been fun to follow her too in her journey over at Georgia Southern. And she has certainly turned into a fine young woman. Michael, I want to thank you again for being a part of this show. What this show is about is we try to take student athletes or coaches or administrators from the Southwest Georgia area and look at the human interest side of this. And it's been a real pleasure to watch you go through college and now get into this professional career, and to watch the way you've handled yourself with such integrity. And we're so proud of you in this area, and we hope you'll always remember where you come from. But thanks again for being with me.
Thank you. No, it's such a special opportunity to talk to you about growing up in Ellaville and Americus, because it was, again, we were just so blessed to have been a part of that community. So it's great.
And again, we want to thank you, our viewers, for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Let me again ask you to please go to our YouTube page and subscribe this week. Michael, as you tell folks about this, I hope your friends will also go to our YouTube page and hit subscribe. Doesn't cost anything. We really need to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark. This has been a lot of fun. We appreciate you joining us. For my friend Michael Leeder, I'm Tim Estes. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.